Good morning, folks. Happy Monday, December 14th. My name is Eric. We're going to do some RevInMo. Welcome to RevInMo with Eric. We got Brody here again. Say hi, Brody. Brody. Yeah, let's get going. Stability ball. You're going to need a stability ball. You're going to need a pair of 2-pound weights. Let me go ahead and grab mine real quick. Get started are some resources that I have in the description. One of them is about the description for this video. One of them is about stability ball, actually, to get the most benefit out of your RevInMo routine with me, and then if you want to watch these videos on replay. So I recommend either a 65 or 75 centimeter stability ball. This one for me is 75 centimeters, and that's because I'm a little bit taller. The cutoff is around, Dr. Edith goes into this in more detail, but the cutoff is around, I would say, 5'10" and taller, get a 75 centimeter ball, and then shorter than that's going to be 65 centimeters. At the same time, you want to make sure that it's blown up to enough to where you have a little bit of resistance to it, but it's not, taut like a basketball, right? So notice if I sit on the ball here, bring this down. If I sit on the ball, it's supporting my weight, but there is still a little bit of give, right? So I think the majority of stability balls out there, you might not have enough air in it, and you might just sink down all the way. So something to keep in mind. Go ahead and watch that video. I also have other resources as well in the description box. So just a little helpful tip for that. Okay. Other than that, let's go ahead and get going. So first exercise we're going to perform is called frog rock. With frog rock, go ahead and stand behind your ball. You're going to squat into your ball with your pubic bone in contact. You're going to have all 10 toes on the floor, toes pointed forward. From here, I'm going to drape the rest of my body over the ball and chin and nose touching. So to start the move, I'm going to press off my toes and my feet, cushion myself in my hands, wrists, elbows, shoulders. Press off my hands and cushion back in my feet, ankles, knees, and hips. The heels, my heels are staying off the floor in this movement. I'm just staying on the balls of my feet and my toes. As again, I press forward, dangling my head forward, you're allowing my head to lengthen down, creating space through the cervical spine, and then back in your feet. Continue pressing your pubic bone in the ball, lengthening your spine in the opposite direction. I hope you guys had a fun, hopefully active, hopefully safe weekend. I know I did. Fought the rain and weather. With this move, again, focus on that spinal lengthening from your sacrum all the way to your head. Notice that your ears drop farther away from your shoulders. And you can also connect your breath to this movement too. All right, so breathing in for a count of 4, and breathing out for a count of 4, in whichever manner you choose. Go and do one more. Okay, from here, we're going to perform spider. So with spider, you're going to start in the same frog position. You're going to be directly on top of the ball. So from here, you're going to have your weight in one hand and one foot. So I'm going to start on my left side, press off my hand and my foot, catch myself and cushion on my right hand and right foot, and then back and forth like so. With this move, we're focusing right on that side to side cushioning. So imagine cushioning through the wrists, elbows, shoulders. Shoulder blades start gliding a little more across the back of the rib cage in this move. And same with the toes, ankles, knees, and hip. Notice that cushioning and that fascia remodeling we get throughout the hip. Again, head angled, chin and nose on the ball, lengthening your head forward, your cervical spine forward, and then continue to have your puke on the ball as well. One more each side, just to even it out. All right, and now let's go ahead and perform dive. So with dive, and squatting into the ball, we're essentially starting in the front position. All right, so right here, from here I'm going to press off my feet. Legs are going to come together, reaching out over my head with my hands like I'm diving into the floor, and then my head lands right between my hands. So it looks like this, pressing off my feet, legs come together, reaching out through my head lands right between my hands, press back, and back in the frog position. With this move, a couple things. Number one, I really like to focus on pointing my toes behind me. So this helps me cushion my landing. So as my legs come together, I'm reaching my toes behind me in a straight line from my head all the way to my toes. Number two, notice where your head lands relative to your hands, right? It's easy to land your hands early or kind of in front of you, kind of like this push-up position here, and then your head lands in front. See if you can reach out a little bit farther maybe, or even reach through your head, right? So it's less of this push-up position, it's more of that dive position, and back. And then make sure we have that solid frog position again. So it's easy to get sloppy here. So coming back and maybe starting, I don't know. It's tough for me to do nowadays. But some key points, make sure your legs are wrapped around the ball, make sure your toes are pointed forward, make sure your pubic bone is in contact with the ball. So again, here and out. And again, chin and nose on the ball too, right, as you come back. Okay, from here, let's go ahead and perform snake. So I'm at the bottom of my dive. What I'm going to do is straighten my elbows, hands go about shoulder and a half width distance, legs stay together, but now they're relaxed over the ball. My chest drops to the ground. Head and neck is relaxed. From here, what I'm going to do is press into one hand. That shifts my body weight to one side of the ball, and then I catch myself by pressing into the other hand, and then repeating side to side. With this move, what's going on here is that as I press my hand in or up onto the floor, up overhead, my shoulder blade is gliding across the back of my rib cage. So all this movement is coming from the shoulder blades. And then that passively transfers down the spine, into the hips and legs. Again, head and neck stay relaxed, stay dangled toward the floor. A good point of reference is that your gaze is where either the ball meets the floor or even just your gaze is right at the ball. I'm going to add a little variation here. So now you can continue doing regular snake, but what I'm going to do is snake with rotation. So in hands, now I'm getting a little bit more to that push-up position. I'm reaching my feet away from me. So hands come a little bit closer together towards the ball and themselves. I'm going to press into one hand, roll to the outside of the hip, back to center, and then again press the opposite hand, roll into the outside of the other hip. Again, if this is a little challenging for you due to balance and coordination or maybe limitations in mobility, then just perform the regular snake. With the snake with rotation, my elbow stays straight, or at least the one that's pressing in the hand, that elbow stays straight. I'm imagining driving my shoulder blade into the side of my spine. So again, getting that extra mobilization through the shoulder blade, the thoracic spine, but then starting to open up the chest in the front as well. One more each side. Good, and bring yourself up. Awesome. Okay, next move is wave. So with wave, knees and feet together, you're going to sit back on your heels. If this is uncomfortable for you, if you're unable to sit back on your heels comfortably, whether you get increased knee pain, maybe your quads are just too tight, go ahead and grab a pillow like this. Pillow, place it right between your butt and your heels. Boom, got that cushion. Still not enough? Great, double it up. You're only going to need this for a little bit of this movement, but you want to make sure that you have that contact there, that that you don't have any undue strain in that position. So knees and feet together, sitting back on my heels. I'm going to walk the ball out in front, like so. Hands are going to be on the top front of the ball. My chest is dropped down towards the ground. I'm going to initiate this move by bringing my hips forward, like so. Dragging my chest across the floor. When my hips are stacked above my knees, I'm going to tilt my pelvis, hollow, round, throughout my spine, dangling my head, sit back on my heels. And forward. Kind of like an advanced cat-cow, right? So again, as I come forward, elbows are straight, reaching that ball away from my body, dragging my chest across the floor, tilting my pelvis, hollowing my abs, dangling my head, sitting back on my heels. One more. Yeah, that's the right stuff. Oh man. All right, let's go ahead and perform squat to overhead reach. Before we do that, I'm gonna grab a sip of my coffee. Here's a question for you at home. Do you drink coffee? Do you drink tea in the morning? Do you drink anything? I'm a coffee person. Okay, so squat to overhead reach. I've got two bells right here. I'll show you the non-weighted version first, just for 1 or 2 repetitions. Start by sitting on top of the ball. Go ahead and walk yourself down to a squat. Feet hip width distance apart, toes are pointing forward, knees are stacked above the ankles here. If I press my feet in the floor, that accentuates that contact with my sacrum on the ball. From here, I'm going to interlace my hands, relax my upper body into my hands, and then I will press my feet, and especially my toes, into the floor, extending my body over the ball, once more relaxing my head, neck, shoulders, into my hands, and back down. You can again I mean, with any of these movements, you can do so, but I'll talk about incorporating the breath with this move. So you can breathe in for a count of 4, breathe out for a count of 4. I breathe in, yeah, let's just say it 4 and 4 for this one. I usually do a different count, but we'll stay there. With the weighted version, I'm going to have 2 weights, 1 in each hand. Bring myself back down to the squat again. This time my head is relaxed on the ball. You want to make sure you don't have any tension here as well. So if you find that up shoulders, thoracic spine isn't that mobile, and find yourself stuck here, get that cushion, get that pillow, because I want to make sure that your head and neck is relaxed in this move. You're going to get the most out of it as a result. So you're here. You're going to have 1 bell in each hand. Bells start by your ears. From here, I'm going to extend my legs. I won't move the bells just yet. Get to that same extended position, having a strong contact with my feet and toes on the floor, forming nice high arches. Come back down to the squat. And then extend my legs and reach the bells through the crown of my head. And back. And keep going. Again, head and neck is relaxed. I'm reaching from my toes all the way to my fingertips. If you're using water bells like so, I got them loosely in my fingertips, trying to get as much extension as possible. If you're using water bottles, right, just hold on to them as you need to. If you're using weights, if you're using dumbbells, right, you can hold on to, right, one of the sides. I might show you later. Right, you don't have to hold on to the handle right in the middle. You want to get this extension out and kind of this traction down, so you can hold on to one of these sides of the bell, right, holding it kind of like a goblet, if you will, and back. Go and do one more. And back. Good. Drop the bells. Bring yourself in that squat. Interlace your hands behind your head. Bring your chin to your chest using your hands. And roll yourself up. Okay. Squat to overhead reach. Now let's go ahead and perform pullovers. Right there. With pullovers, you can use the same weights. I'm grabbing something that's about maybe 2 pounds heavier, but the same weights will be just fine with this movement, especially if you're still new to it. With pullovers, we're going to walk ourselves down in what we call the bridge position. So what that looks like, walk, 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 just like so. Feet hip width distance apart, toes pointed forward, knees are stacked above the ankles. From here, the top of my glutes are in contact with the ball, supporting my low back and spine. If I lay my head back, chin is directed up towards the ceiling, but you can start to see this almost like a hammock, right? Hammock sensation here. This is what we call abdominal hollowing, right? So from here, I'm drawing my abs in and up to the front of my spine, directs my tailbone to my knees, just like so. That is our bridge position. Okay. With pullovers, I'm going to have 1 bell in each hand, palms facing away from my body. Bells are going to start right behind my head, elbows directed towards the ceiling, I already said that, palms facing away from my body. There you go. From here, using the muscles under my shoulder blades, I'm going to drag the bells down the ball as far as I can, and back up. Again, head, neck is relaxed, just moving those muscles around my shoulder and shoulder blades, and back up. If you notice any tension in that low back or spine, because you should feel a stretch in the upper thoracic spine, upper shoulders and between your shoulder blades. But if you're starting to notice tension in the low back and spine, continue focusing on directing your tailbone to your knees, right? So notice here, I'm kind of relaxed my lower body over the ball. From here, I'm using my abs to direct my tailbone to my knees, right? Help support my low back and spine by engaging my core. And then I continue going through the movement. At the same time, with this movement, sometimes you might get to a spot where you just can't go down as far without compensating through that spine. So maybe just decrease the range of motion to where you feel that stretch, but you're able to also feel strong in your core. If you want to, you can do one arm at a time. You might notice one shoulder or arm is more tight than the other. For me, it's my it's easy for the elbows to flare out. And as well, keep the bells as close, or the weights as close to the ball as possible, right? So we're not reaching out like so. It's straight down, elbows stay close together, directed towards the ceiling, and back up. About 2 more. Drop the weights either side. Walk yourself down to that squat. Then release your hands behind your head. Support your head and neck as you roll yourself up. Perfect. Okay, now we're going to form knees side to side. Right, Brody? He's passed out. He said, this isn't fetch, so I'm bored. Right, Brody? Yeah. So knees side to side. You're going to be sitting on the floor. Feet, ball's going to be at your feet. So I'm going to go ahead and lay. Oops. I'm going to go ahead and lay back. Both my feet are going to be together. Knees and feet are going to be together. And my heels are going to be on the top front of the ball. I've got about a 90-degree angle in terms of where the ball should be, right? I've got about a 90-degree angle in my heels, so it's not way out in front. It's not super close. It's just that nice 90-degree angle right there. From here, again, I'm going to hollow my abs. And then to initiate the movement, I'm going to bring my knees, rotate them down to one side, back up to the top, and then down the other side, and back up. So as I'm bringing my knees to one side, I'm rolling to the outside of one foot. My opposite hip might come off the floor. That's totally fine. We're mobilizing and working through that fascial system through the hip, low back, spine, sacrum, all the way down to the knee. As you go knee side to side, keep your knees together. You're going to get much more benefit. And then at the same time, see if you can keep your feet in the same, how do you say this? The same position, right? So as I roll up to my side, my feet aren't coming away from my body, right? Like this. My feet are technically staying in the same spot, and I'm just rolling to the outside. Extra little variation if you want to do it. Same starting position, but this time I'm pressing the soles of my feet into the ball, which raises my hips up off the ground. Again, hollowing my abs, and then same movement. So knee side to side, like so. This requires more balance and coordination. Maybe, I hope you heard that. That felt so great. Mobilizing more through that lumbar spine, through that thoracic spine. Very likely, while doing RevInMo, you're going to get some adjustments. Freebies for you. I also incorporate my breath with this movement as well. So breathing in when I'm up at the top, breathing out as my knees go down to one side. And bring yourself down. Or keep doing it by any means. I mean, I'm going through a series of moves. That being said, the majority of the moves that we perform, man, I could easily spend 5 to 10 minutes in each move. Frog rock alone, right? We could just spend a half hour doing frog rock. So if you ever want to, if you're watching a recording of this, you can definitely pause it, take more time, and perform each move, right? You're going to get it's kind of like, it's like any sort of training, right? Or any sort of exercise. The more you do it, the more benefits you're going to get. Obviously, I would kind of say to a point in terms of safety, if you might not be performing it as well as you could at home. That being said, shameless plug, if you want to perform, if you want to have more of that one-on-one interaction with Revolution Motion virtual group classes in a Zoom format. So same thing here on my side, but then I get to see what you're doing and we get to have that interaction to where I can give you on the spot cues and corrections, which makes it so much more beneficial. Anyways, next move we're going to perform is called skater. So a skater, you're going to sit directly on top of the ball. Feet are going to be 2 times hip width distance apart. From here, before we move, some things I'm keeping in mind are the rest of my positioning or revolution in motion essentials. So I'm drawing my abs in and up to the front of my spine. My tailbone is tractioning and relaxing down towards the ground, lifting in my chest, shoulders are down and back, floating my head. From here, so now that we have all that set, I'm going to press off one leg. That leg relaxes on the ball as I catch myself on my other foot and leg. So essentially I'm skating side by side, always balancing on one foot. As I land, I'm landing with my toes first, which helps keep my toes or my foot positioned forward. So that's something I want to maintain throughout this movement, that foot pointed forward. Landing with the toes just helps with that. It helps form that nice high arch in the foot. You might be able to see that. And then my knee is much more in line with my toes, just like so. That being said, this is not a very, it's not that it's not common, it's that it might be difficult, right? Whether depending on how we move out throughout the day, or depending on the mobility in our hips or in our feet, right? We might have dropped feet. We might have feet that kick out. Our knee might kick in, right? So something like this. So if you notice yourself landing kind of like this, see, can you get that toe pointed forward? And then can you get the knee in line with the foot? And this might feel like a huge, huge, huge stretch in the hip. Might feel it all the way down the side, into your shin. Might feel like a cramping in the hip as well, which is totally normal, right? Just do the best you can, because we're doing a lot of reorganization throughout the hips, throughout the pelvic floor, and how that relates to, again, our knees and feet. I can't tell you this. I probably say this about every exercise, but this one alone if you've got a desk job, if you've been sitting for 40 hours a week for 20 years, you're going to notice this move, right? Or if you're an athlete and someone might tell you have tight hips, do this move. This is going to help so much. Again, staying side to side, sitting directly on top of the ball. Notice if you're, again, I mentioned the RevInMo essentials before, but notice if you're leaning forward as you go side to side. See if you can stay in line, right, from your pelvic floor all the way to your head. And if this is tough to do, right, either you can, a nice hack that I like to do is to grab a chair and hold onto the top of the chair and then just go side to side, maybe reduce my range of motion just so I can hit all those points, right? It's more about performing the move correctly than just kind of going through it and getting the most out of it, right? Because if I'm landing like this every single time, you're not doing yourself any favors. It's all about positioning, all about that fascia remodeling. Okay, off my soapbox. Next move is going to be lunge. I'm bring this up just a smidge. With lunge, I'm going to show you with a weight. You don't need to use a weight on this move by any means. This just adds a little bit extra. I'll be facing one direction. I'm going to have the ball directly behind me. One foot, toes are going to be pointed forward in front of me. The other foot is going to be on the top front of the ball, just like so. So the top of that foot's on the top front of the ball. From here, again, being mindful of my essentials. So I'm going to hollow, lift my chest, shoulders or down and back. I'm floating my head like a 12 healing up to the ceiling. And then to start the move, I'm going to press the top of my foot into the top of the ball, which glides me back into a lunge. Then I press my shin and my foot into the ball, which glides me forward. Whoa. As you can see, again, requires some balance and coordination. I recommend either doing it right next to a wall or even, I'll even show you that. I keep talking about it, but let me show it to you. So let's say that this move is difficult, right? You're falling, things aren't working, you're getting frustrated, you're saying, Eric, what's going on? I don't understand it. I've got a chair right here. It's a little bit taller, right? I'm holding onto the back. I'm going to place, again, the top of my foot on the top front of the ball, holding onto this chair. Then I'm going to press my shin and foot in the ball. Notice how I have this extra support right here. So now I can really get back in the stretch. I'm reaching that foot behind me and then coming forward. In effect, what's happening is that I'm getting, 90% of the benefit from this move, right? We're mobilizing again through the hip, organizing that with the pelvic floor, with this abdominal hollowing, right? If we want to think about that, our desk posture, we've got really, really tight psoas, right? That hip flexor that attaches from the front of our spine to the inside of the front of our hip. We are mobilizing that guy like crazy. So that's what that looks like. Okay, let's go take this away. So that's one end of the move. Here's what the other end of the move looks like. So I've got this bell or weight. Again, no more than 2 or 3 pounds. You're gonna have it in both hands. Reach that bell straight up overhead. In this position, bring myself back in the lunge, and with this extra added weight, I actually feel a little bit more work going on in the shoulders and thoracic spine, which, and down, let's go to switch sides, which is something that, personally I need, right? You're gonna notice, everybody's gonna notice certain benefits, if you will, or certain effects in different areas depending on what's needed, right? So, my hips aren't as tight, but my upper back, my upper chest area is, and my shoulders, right? And you have history, I've played a lot of football, things like that. So I need much more work in the upper body while we're still mobilizing the lower body. That's kind of like a little insight into, what you might be experiencing in this move or any move. One thing to keep in mind with alignment, right? That foot's on the top of the ball. I like to start with my knees kind of stacked together as if I'm standing straight up, right? So that gives you a good idea on how close or far away you need to have the ball. From here again, I'm pressing the top of my foot and the top of the shin into the ball. It's like almost as if I'm gliding myself back, right? Versus lunging down like so. This is not what we're doing. This standing leg is passive. So as I reach back, this leg in front just passively bends, right? It's a point of stability. It's kind of, your own chair, if you will, if you're holding onto the back of the chair. And if you need 2 points of contact, then, right, grab that chair. At the same time, I'm reaching that foot straight behind me, right? Straight back behind me, like so. It's easy for the ball to go out inside or outside. Reaching that ball straight back behind me, gliding back into the lunge. I've got 60% of my weight in that back leg, really trusting that support, where you get more stretch in the hip. A couple more. Good, and up. All right, let's do this. So if you've been following along, the last move we're going to perform is plie wall squat, and you know that in terms of contrast, I've been having some difficulties, right? So I'm going to see if we're going to make it work. I would position it in a different point in my house, but we're doing a lot of moving around, getting rid of things. So you don't want to see that, trust me. Okay, for plie wall squat, you're going to need a ball, and you are going to need a weight. You don't need a weight, but this one is more recommended. So just like so. Okay. You're not going to see my whole body in this frame. I apologize for that, but you'll get the gist of it. So to get in position, the ball is going to be in between you and the wall. You're going to walk the ball up till your sacrum is at the equator of the ball. Walk your feet 2 times hip width distance apart, and feet are going to be slightly out in front of you like so, right? So it's almost like your feet, that positioning is pressing your sacrum or driving your sacrum back into the ball. From here, I'm going to take this bell, this weight, with 2 hands, reach it straight up overhead. I'm going to focus on lifting in my chest, hollowing, dropping my tailbone back down towards the ground. From here, I'm going to press my feet into the floor, bring myself down to a squat, and back up. Down, and up. Continue reaching up overhead. You might notice, let's see, what do I want to talk about? Sorry, I'm really getting in the mood. So as we come down, knees should be in line with the toes. Should not be going much past the ankles, as you can see. If you notice yourself, so I'm going to show you without the weight. If you notice yourself, the goal of the movement isn't to perform a full squat, right? So I'm not going my butt all the way down to the floor, right? What I'm doing is maintaining my essentials as I bring myself down to the squat until I get to a point where I feel this lengthening in my pelvic floor, and that rebounds me back up to the top, right? So if you find yourself, I'll show you with the weight again. If you're coming down and then your chest starts collapsing, or you're extending through your back, right? That lets you know you might be going a little bit too far. You want to, again, maintain those essentials to where you feel strong and stable, and then stand straight back up. So this movement serves to organize and integrate all the things that we've done today. On your own, do about 2 more. Good, and relax. And with that being said, we are all done. All right. Okay, so that's RevInMo with Eric. A great way to wake up. If you have any questions, please let me know. I feel great. I know you do too, if you went through the whole series. I don't really have any other announcements. Other than that, I'll see you guys on Wednesday. Let's get at it. All right, until then.